Howdy, I'm Chandler O'Quinn. Welcome to Chandler's Travels. In this episode, we are at Sutter's Fort in Sacramento, California. I'm in the front bastion here. We've got a piece of artillery, an example of what they might have used, John Sutter, to protect the immigrants here from different Mexican revolutions and Indian attacks. But nowadays is primarily used by the California Environmental Protection Agency. If anyone tries to drive a jalopy that has not passed its fuel efficiency test, they can expect to answer to this bad boy. That's the way it goes here in California. Well, hope you'll enjoy this look at an interesting part of California and world history. I'm here at Sutter's Fort State Historic Park. This is the actual place that John Sutter set up, or at least one of the buildings is, and the rest is recreated. But we're going to go inside, check it out, and then I will come back to you with a full report. So I just got finished touring Sutter's Fort. As typical, I did a lot of research before coming here. That's how I knew I wanted to come here. They had a history talk, which only happens like for 1 week, for California Parks Week. They have a history talk at 11:30 and 1:30. It looked like on the back of that sign it said they have regular guided tours, but that was not happening today. We had a history talk, and they share a lot of staff between here and the Sacramento History Museum. So I recognized the guy giving the talk, and did a great job. He started out asking me what I knew, and I proceeded to tell him, well, John Sutter was born Johann Augustus Sutter in Baden, Germany. He got involved in all sorts of different business ventures, print shop, carpentry, running a store, and failed at every one of them, and got into a whole bunch of debt. Just like it's a typical American story. John Sutter is the American story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so Sutter left his family back in Switzerland. He went to New York. He went overland all the way to Santa Fe. He saw Bent's Fort, which is a major thing in the history of the West. I definitely have plans to go there someday, and wanted to put that in the back of his mind, filed it away for later. Then went all the way back to the east, then took a ship around the Horn to Oregon. Or maybe he went overland to Oregon and then took a ship to Hawaii, then a ship to Alaska, partied with the Russian ambassador there, and then got his Hawaiian workers to come over here to Yerba Buena, San Francisco. Went to Monterey, got a land grant from Governor Alvarado, which is here in the Central Valley. The guy who was giving the tour is like, okay, so I don't have to cover a whole bunch of that. You already got it. Like, some of it. He helped me a lot in figuring out the actual construction of the fort. So there is one centerpiece upon which that centerpiece was the first structure that Sutter constructed in 1839 to claim his land grant, much like how the Texas system was. He had to convert to Catholicism. He got his league and then had to prove that he was working on it, so he built that building, and that building still stands. Everything else around the fort has been reconstructed. He made this really a place of commerce more than defense, though he does get some artillery pieces from the Mexican army. The idea being that Sutter is going to defend the interior of Mexico. Stop me if you've heard this before. Is going to defend the interior of Mexico from Indian attacks, and hopefully is going to push away Anglo, English, and Russian settlement. What actually ended up happening was Sutter was very welcoming to all the Anglo-Americans, the English, and the Russians, and was making deals with every one of them. The interpretation has definitely changed over the last 50 years, as things often do. I mean, this has been operating as some sort of historic site since the turn of the last century. And at that time, it was focused on living history. It was focused on telling the story as the Anglo-American settlers would see it. That John Sutter was this very welcoming man, American ingenuity, built everything, welcomed, put the welcoming mat out for Fremont and for all of the California to become part of the United States, and that is a good thing. That's not the way that it's interpreted today. They are bringing in a lot more of the Native American side, because that absolutely needs to be taught, that this was on the backs of the Miwok and the Nisenan who did all this. And Sutter, some people say it's enslaved. After talking with the interpreter there, it seemed more like serfdom, which is what he was used to. John Sutter came from a serf feudal society. This was his castle, and he viewed these Indians as serfs that he could force to work for him, just as serfs are forced to work. Some were punished, beaten, things like that. He also described it, the interpreter in there described it as like a crime boss, that you're paying for protection. And if you don't pay for protection, then you're going to need protection. And so one of the things Sutter did was, because some of the Indians weren't coming to work, he went to the roundhouse in their village, their sacred religious, spiritual place, and he burned it to the ground and made them get back to work here. That's again, this is a very American story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That first part of how it used to be interpreted as this entrepreneur who saw a vision for California and went across the world to get it, that is true. But the other part is also true, and they're in conversation and balance together. So really, it's so cool to be in this actual spot where so much important history in California, and honestly world history, because the things that Sutter did here, there is a chain reaction that leads to the gold rush, where they figured out gold. Well, first of all, it's Sutter's land, Sutter's mill. The office where Marshall and Sutter did their tests is in there. It's still standing. It's in that original building. The largest free migration of people in the world is because of the actions that happened inside those walls. So it's really amazing to be here. I think that's all that I have on my mind right now. I'm sure I'll think of other things as the day progresses, and I'll get back to you. So some other parts of my trip here to Sutter's Fort, when I was talking with the interpreter here, I asked, he asked if there were any questions at the end of it, and I said, I'm sorry, this is going to be a little bit in the weeds, but I'm trying to figure out a little bit more about Sutter's relationship to the Mexican government. I saw that he supported Mitchell Terena, and I was trying to understand why. And he was like, oh, I'm so happy I get to talk about this. So in California history, and I'll be covering more of this when we get into the Bear Flag Revolt, but in the early 1840s, Santa Anna sent a governor from Mexico City to be the appointed governor of California. That man's name is Mitchell Terena. Many of the native Hispanic population, the Californios, rather like democracy. I know, again, it's like Santa Anna never learns his lesson. So they had their own elected governor, and for some reason Sutter, even though he had gotten everything he wanted from the elected governor, he switched sides and supported Mitchell Terena, supported Santa Anna's guy. And the interpreter gave me some good insight of, he felt that the John Sutter felt that the Mexican government was stronger. And that may be true in Mexico City, but it was pretty weak out here in the frontier. But Sutter thought, I'm going to back the Mexican government, the government of the country, and back their appointed governor, Mitchell Terena. And there was a skirmish that happened at Cahuenga Pass, and they lost. Santa Anna's guy, again, I know it's crazy to say, but Santa Anna's guy lost. And the elected governor became Pio Pico, who, again, we get into all this in the Bear Flag episode. But he becomes the sitting governor, elected governor from the Californios when the Bear Flag Revolt happens. Another piece I like to point out is, I don't know if we can see, maybe not, but I'll show you in a different shot. Cue editor Chandler. They have a candle shop here that is really cool. If I lived anywhere near here, I'd want to be in there for Living History Days, because Chandler is candle maker. So I always love doing living history candle making. I call it Chandler the Chandler. And they have a real cool candle making shop in there. I haven't really seen an industrial version of a candle shop before. I'm sure they have them back east and those kinds of places, but this is my first one seeing it. And it's really cool. They've got a little ladder looking thing that you could hang the candles on, and they have all sorts of molds, and that would be a real cool place to be. Well, I will continue to look around the place and update you more as we go along. So as I said, California's not messing around. If you have a car that is over the emissions limit, I saw it myself. Governor Newsom went up there, manned that cannon, blew an old Ford Pinto right straight across the Sierra Nevadas. That's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode of Chandler's Travels. Please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. All of that helps us in growing the channel so I can take even more of you along with me on my journeys. Until next time, vaya con Dios.